Hey guys, I'm here with Jeff Nippard, who's just finished his presentation on science communication, and it was really cool to get an insight into, behind the scenes when it comes to actually trying to communicate science and producing content and things like that. So Jeff, I wanted to just start off by, talking about how you actually got into the industry and, were you always evidence-based, or was there something that instigated you into the transition into, evidence-based fitness?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So I started definitely as a bodybuilder first, but I had this independent interest in science. I did science in high school, but I just wasn't aware of the fact that there was a science of bodybuilding.
Yeah, right? Not many people associate science with fitness.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So it took me a while to actually get put onto some of that stuff. It was actually well into university before I did. So around 2012, I started following guys like Lane Norton and some of these other science communicators who really just got me so hooked on all this stuff. I just got totally obsessed with it, reading all kinds of different stuff. And that was probably that learning phase, the initial learning phase where you feel like you're figuring everything out right for the first time.
Exciting, isn't it?
That's the most exciting part, man. I need that again now. With something new,
totally.
Right?
When new information comes out, I get that same feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it kind of came in a different order. I definitely went through my bro phase where it was just whatever the biggest guy at the gym said, that's what I did, right? Yeah. But then once I was introduced to the science aspect, then that was what really got me super passionate about it. Yeah.
Cool. And why is science important? Why does it matter?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a good question. And you definitely have people who fall on the side of, let's say, science skepticism, right? Especially insofar as it applies to bodybuilding. You have people who are the bros did it better, they get better results, whatever. You have people who take a minimal approach, so they're okay, well, progressive overload matters, but all the other stuff doesn't really matter that much. I think you don't actually need science to get good results, right? If you have good genetics and you do a good training program, you can get good results. I think that science is good because it gives you, for one, a solid knowledge foundation within which you can layer on top other stuff from people in the field who have been successful. Also, I think that being good at the science of fitness can make you a better learner in general. It can make you understand other stuff. So it can just improve, I would say, your scientific literacy just in general, right? So it can just make you more aware of things and live a more fulfilled life as a result. So it extends beyond just what happens in the gym. But of course, if you want to optimize things in the gym and get the best results you can, I do think that an integrated, evidence-based approach where you're borrowing from science and from successful examples, that's how you're going to get the best gains.
And I noticed in your presentation, we're talking about how you got some information from John Meadows, some information from Alberto Nunez, and you've kind of combined that, and you now even have your own strategy. So can you just give us a brief rundown of what you've learned from Meadows and Nunez and even other bodybuilders out there that you've trained with?
Yeah, I've definitely collaborated with a lot of people. This is actually a new thing that I'm wanting to do more of on my channel. So I want to introduce people to training styles that might fall maybe slightly outside of the evidence-based purview, right? But there's something that you can definitely borrow from them and integrate into your approach. So I use the quote, keep an open mind, but not so open your brains fall out. So basically your brains are that foundation of science-based knowledge, right? And then you're open to the other stuff. Right. With John, the thing that I think I got the most from John is that he does train really hard. He's got a really solid work ethic, and I feel that's something that's just valuable in general. Whether you take a science-based approach or not, working hard matters. Right?
I think that's something that's ingrained in him.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And seeing it in the gym, it's almost he has this I don't know if I would call it rage, but he controls it until it's the right time to bring it out, and then it's just boom, beast mode,
so
right?
He gives absolute 100% to each set.
Yeah, I would say 100% in terms of focus, but in terms of actually having nothing left, he actually is pretty methodical with that. He'll reserve it for when it's the right time in the workout. So that was something I definitely learned from him.
Yeah, and you talked about the 4 strategies that he uses. He uses an activator, and then a compound movement.
So you were listening.
I definitely was. A compound movement. Then it was.
Then it's a pump.
And lengthening stretch.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's an interesting way to incorporate it into your training.
I have, especially the lengthening stuff at the end. I really like that as a finisher. So if I have, say, a back focused day or a pull day or whatever, finishing with some kind of pullover, like stretch focus movement. I do the activator stuff, but maybe not always in the same way he does it. Like I do activation probably at a lower intensity than he would. He probably pushes it a little harder, but I still do that. Like if I might have a back day before I hop into pull-ups, I'll usually do some kind of pull-in or something like that to get things firing, then jump into the heavy stuff.
Yeah, sure.
It just feels better, man.
Yeah, right. And sometimes you do have to go by the feel, don't you? Even if science does not, say that this is the way you should do it, if it feels good, then...
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like I said, it's always that blend, and the science does show that feel does matter to an extent, right? There is support for the mind-muscle connection, so I think that that's one example where the bros got it right, we thought they got it wrong, and then we said, oh wait, no, never mind.
Yeah, mind-muscle connection is actually pretty important. Yeah. And you also talked about training hard, and I think this is something that can really bottleneck a lot of, gym trainees' progress in the gym. Like, they start getting into the science scene and they see that, you should keep a few reps left in the tank, but then they end up just not training hard enough. And over time, that probably does reduce the amount of progress that they can make in the gym. So what's to go with training hard? Like, can you give us a brief outline of what you spoke about today?
So I think this really depends on the audience, because some people, like you said, will hear about the evidence-based thing and then they use that almost like as an excuse to see how much little they can do, right? It's what's the least amount I can do and still progress? That doesn't really mesh with my mentality. I would rather look at it like, if I can get a little more results by working a little harder or by doing a little more, then that's going to be worth it for me, even if it's a little bit more inherently risky. Like that is kind of my approach towards like more of what I would think would be like a champion's mindset, right? So when it comes to working hard, if you have someone who has taken on that like almost like really conservative approach where they're leaving way more in the tank than they should be. Like you see them in the gym, right? And they got all the abstracts, they know all the science, but it's like, dude, like
you could
just
train
put
so
some
much
weight
harder.
on. You know what I mean, right?
You have to respect like progressive resistance,
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm speaking to them, I'm saying, yeah, dude, like see where your limits are. Like actually push yourself harder. Those are usually my experience people who don't have an athletic background. Like if you have an athletic background, you're probably used to exerting yourself harder.
You're probably more in tune to like how hard you can actually push yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So for them, I say that. But then on the other side, you have these like hardcore head case bodybuilders that are like, if it's not to failure, it doesn't count. And in their case, I would say, well, train hard is probably not the best thing they need to hear, right? They need to hear about the recovery stuff that a lot of the other guests talked about, right? So it's always a balance, and it always depends on context, but in my own personal training, I think that training hard and doing that has a place, but it has to fit within the context of all the other stuff.
And obviously you have to take into account how many days the individuals train as well. So if you're training 6 days a week, balls to the wall, you probably do have to pay a bit more attention to fatigue management and recovery.
Exactly.
Yeah, sweet. And neck training. That is probably the most important thing out of your whole presentation.
Exactly.
So talk to us about neck training. How can we optimize it? Why is it important?
Yeah, for sure. So this is something like I haven't seen at all in the evidence-based community, so I wanted to introduce it into the talk. There's a bit of research on it, but it kind of borrows mostly from like the combat community. Boxers have done it forever. Like if you look on YouTube, Joe Rogan is training his neck, Mike Tyson is training his neck, like all kinds of football players. So it is popular in athletics in general. It just hasn't made its way to bodybuilding for some reason. I think of the neck similar to how I would like the calves or the forearms. They're not going to win a show with having like the best neck. You're not going to win a show on your forearms, but it might help differentiate physiques and it helps tie the physique together. Right? So like if you have someone who doesn't have good calves, it's like, whatever. Like they've got everything else flows really nicely. You're not going to lose necessarily. But if it's super close between you and another guy and you've got better calves, I think you might win. I actually think the neck registers this way, like even subconsciously amongst judges. Like if you're hitting a front relaxed pose and it looks like you have like a bobblehead on your head, I think that can take away from the overall aesthetic appearance of the physique.
And like you said, probably the traps as well.
I think so too. I think it all ties together, and the back of the neck is the traps, right? The traps go all the way up to the skull. So the best way to train that part of the neck is through head extension, not through shrugs. The research shows that shrugs don't really hit that well, at least based on what we have, right? So yeah, I would say it's one of those muscles, one of those accessory muscles that really tends to get neglected. It's getting more popular now, so I think it's cool to introduce it and see what some people who might be doing more active research would think about.
Yeah, and it may even have implications for like rehab and people who do get neck pain, like you said, like you haven't had any neck pain since you've been training.
Yeah, you really listen.
I tried to.
Good job.
All right, and you use the neck. What is it?
So
The,
I use the neck flex.
Right.
That's like pro level equipment.
Okay.
So it's very high quality. You can get cheaper versions, but I love that because it's a very versatile piece of equipment. Basically, you know, if you're new to it, I would say get some kind of head harness where you can hook weight onto it, and so you can train extension. Just because if you don't have that headgear, then just trying to like load a plate on the back of your head is like uncomfortable. You lose your, I've done it a lot. You lose your balance on the bench, and then once you get to a certain point of strength, it's just not enough loading potential. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what's coming up for Jeff Nippard in the next coming months, in the next year or so?
Yeah, good question, man. Like I've got so much travel planned right now. After this, we're going to Bali for a vacation, so that's what I need
That'll
first.
Be fun.
And then after that,
how long are you staying there?
A week.
Okay.
So that's a good amount of time. Any more than that, and I'm like,
it's more than enough. Like it's just relaxing.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
A whole week is fine.
That's enough. So yeah, I want to do some like reading there, like just even outside fitness and stuff. Just like just relaxation. And after that, I definitely want to continue to do things with YouTube. I have several new series planned. My main thing right now is I want to travel and collaborate with people who I think have a cool approach or an interesting approach that we can borrow things from, showcase that on my channel, and then kind of show how, you know, am I going to implement all of this, a little bit of this, and like I think that it'll open up people to different sorts of approaches. Yeah.
Awesome. So you're just trying to get bits and pieces from here and there.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, the new series. It's going to be sick, man.
Yeah, awesome. Looking forward to it. So stay tuned. You can find Jeff obviously on his YouTube channel, and he's got Instagram and whatnot. So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Perfect. No
Thank
worries.
you.